thrilled to have been asked by the Awaken Hub team to join and interview Kelly tonight. I first met Kelly and learned of the Build Your Dream Network movement back at Inspire Fest conference back in 2017. And Kelly entered the stage in a pair of shoes to die for, and I was hooked before she even opened her mouth. And then she followed on to give us a great understanding of the value of networking and describing networking as every single human interaction that you have. And I was hooked. So it's an honor to welcome you to join us this evening, Kelly. Thank you.
It's great to be here. It's great to be here. And it's so funny on the shoes. I actually introduced my feet to something other than flip-flops and sneakers today.
Oh, wow. So you're moving into autumn weather in New York.
I put on real shoes. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, welcome, Kelly, and we're so delighted to have you with us all. I'm sure there'll be a lot of questions coming through from chat. But before we start, I just want to take a moment, Kelly, just to review how you have been described in your career to date. So Forbes described you as one of the 5 women changing the world of VC and entrepreneurship. Fast Company described you as one of the 25 smartest women on Twitter. Business Insider described you as one of the most influential women in tech on Twitter. These are amazing accolades, obviously, of your entrepreneurial journey to becoming an author and everything. But it would be really good for our audience tonight to understand that journey a little bit more and understand where your career started and how you've become an entrepreneur and author.
Yeah. Thank you. So yeah, and those accolades, I'm particularly the Twitter one. I'm sure it just makes my family so proud that I went to law school so I could be recognized for my tweets. Started my career very traditionally, as a lawyer. Went and got a law degree because I didn't know what the heck I wanted to do. And I grew up in a family that expected, a professional degree. That my brothers got out of getting the professional degree and staying in school is kind of beyond me, but that's a different story. So I went to law school, practiced in Toronto. Yes, I am Canadian. And then moved to New York in 1998, practiced for 4 years down here, and then was like, yeah, something's not right. And sort of first networking lesson. I mean, I had a very powerful, important network if I continued to do what I was doing, which was corporate law and a very narrow area of corporate law. But to change careers, I had no movement in terms of, other than talking to recruiters or firing up my resume, I was very restricted. And I determined that I wanted to it was still in the practice of law, I wanted to get into law firm management. And I quickly discovered that those roles were filled by word of mouth. And I didn't have the word of mouth network. So, and I detail this in my book, I then had to build the word of mouth network so that people would keep me top of mind for positions when they open. So I then moved into law firm management. I did that for 5.5 years. And really, Denise, life got kind of interesting when I became the first president of a global network for women. It was then called 85 Broads. And I became president simply because I was active in the network. And I became active in that network because at the time I was building the alumni program for a global law firm. And for anyone working in big companies, you've heard this before. When someone says to you, this is our most important task, this is the most, Kelly, this, our people, and this project's our most important thing. By the way, you have no staff and no budget, but get it done, right? So there I was to build an alumni program with no staff and no budget. So I had to go and look at examples where people had built community on the basis of the desire of the community members to get invigorated and behind it. And so I was like really interested in discovering the DNA of this networking group, 85 Broads. And I used every single tool, went to events, rolled up my sleeves, like I was part of all of it. And Janet Henson, the founder, noticed and said, hey, Who are you? What do you do? And would you come and work with me? And it was just, you know, it was like, why not take a flyer? And it was crazy because it was a time of, right after Lehman Brothers had collapsed. So there's a global recession. I jump into this entrepreneurial role where I was getting equity, no paycheck. I mentioned I'm Canadian. I like healthcare. There was no healthcare, no paycheck, but I was like, you know, why not try this? And, you know, someone reminded me, what was the worst that can happen? People knew my skill set in the management role. I had a strong network there. I kept my other networks from my lawyer days. And someone said to me, what's the worst that can happen when you take this flyer? You come back and do your old job. So I took a leap. And that was an important one because it just completely expanded my network in new ways. So, you know, kind of the lessons along the line of like, build your network before you need it. Don't discard networks. You might interact with them differently over time, but don't discard them. And, you know, some of your best networking is visibility, you know, not the coffee date, excuse my language, bullshit, but are you visible? You know, like, are you participating? Are you engaging? Are you using the hashtag and tweeting? You might think it's, what is this frivolous thing? That's networking. And doing those things and letting people know what you're interested in can open doors and opportunities. So I'll stop there.
Fantastic. It's amazing that you've been on, you talk about the community and the community piece. Obviously the team at Awaken Hub have started, you know, in their early stages in the last number of months in building a phenomenal community of female founders based in Ireland and around the world. And it's a movement, and it's happening, and it's fantastic, and it's such an important thing. One of the things, Kelly, that was fascinating to me when I first heard you speak was that you described yourself as a reluctant networker. And for somebody who has, as you've described, gone through your career to date and understanding the importance of networking and maintaining your legal network as you moved into your entrepreneurial journey, to describe yourself as a reluctant networker, having written your book and everything, slightly threw me when I heard you first speak. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Because I'm sure there's lots of reluctant networkers in our audience here tonight.
Well, you hit it on the head, Denise, when you originally said like how I think about networking. So if we continue to define networking in an outdated paradigm of walking into a room of strangers, hoping someone you've never met before is going to hold the key and unlock the door to your possibility and your potential. And if we keep it in that paradigm of, oh my God, this is, you know, like I've got to make conversation with someone I don't know and I have to convince them to help me. If we keep networking stuck there, that's where I'm a reluctant networker, because that to me, you can do ways to ease it. And I've got suggestions and we can talk about that, but that's awkward. So when someone says go out and network and you automatically, your mind jumps to room full of strangers. I don't know why I'm here. Someone's told me to network. I'm reluctant on that. Like still to this day, I'm reluctant on that. I need to understand why I'm doing it. But if we change what networking is, if we think of it as relationship building, as you think about it, of building this net, right? This net that you're going to have to support and surround and grow your career and your professional ambitions and, you know, your heart, your soul, your, you know, fuel for your mind. Like if you think about it that way, and if you think about, all right, how do I build relationships? That's with like every little touch point. You know, back in the day when we went into offices, how you greeted people. Did you remember birthdays? You know, like, were you the one who like picked up a piece of paper, someone dropped and handed to them? All of those little touch points start to convey to other people who you are and whether or not they want to help you. And that's what we need our networks for. But if we you know, that other mode of like, oh, I got to go network because I need something. If that is what networking is, and if we continue to define it that way, I will continue to be a reluctant networker.
Kelly, you set the community some homework last night, and we're running very close to going into our breakout rooms. Can you just explain why you set the task that you did to all of us?
I will set the task. So one of the things I really loathe, other than at pitch competitions, I loathe elevator pitches. You know what? Put it in the definition of reluctant networker. You go into an event and someone comes up to you and you're like, hi, nice to meet you. Who are you? And then they like, for the next 60, 90, 2-3 minutes, they just barf information on you. And they use jargon and you're just like, okay, none of this invites conversation. It's just like words that get slammed on you. And I'm like, time out. There's a time and a place for an elevator pitch. And there's a timing on how to deliver what it is that you do. So the six words, yes. How do you invite conversation? How can you say something so someone else says, tell me more? So part of this originated, because there is the whole thing with the 6-word bio, the 6-word pitch. Spike Lee was infamous for this. Someone was emailing him with all this detail of, hey, we got a movie you got to do, Spike. You got a movie you got to do. And he said, convince me in 6 words. Black man infiltrates Ku Klux Klan. Boom, he was it. Right? So those 6 words, you could just see someone like Spike Lee going, what the what? Tell me more. Right? So there was an attorney, a woman, and she was, you know, I was like, hey, what's your introduction? Because she was getting some networking coaching. And she's like, oh, I'm a partner at a big law firm, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my God, if we met at an event, I'd be running to the bar. Hey, nice meeting you. Oh, drink's empty. You know, like it was so boring. I'm like, do better, do better, do better. So finally she came back to me and she's like, I said, what do you do? Hey, nice to meet you. What do you do? She said, I open new markets in the pharmaceutical industry. I'm like, how the heck do you do that? She says, and I'm an IP, you know, I'm an IP attorney, partner at blah, blah, blah law firm. And what I do is I attack weak patents so that generic drugs can get on the market faster. I said, what's going on with these patents? And she's like, yeah, big farm. Next thing you know, we have a conversation. So that's why the 6-word bio. So even if you're coming up and crafting a 90-second, 60-second, 3-minute pitch, start with something short and insert a pause to give the other person a chance, like a little breath, to insert themselves and say, tell me more.
Okay, fantastic. So we will be going into our breakout rooms. I hope everybody's done their homework. We will be spending some time in there, and then we will come back to do more questions and dig a little deeper into the book and the content of the book.
So you know what we'll do?
Enjoy, everybody.
Yeah, when you go into your groups, everybody, like everyone go around the table and give your 6 words. And then go around and say, like, hey, who, like, what didn't you understand, whatever, so that everyone can give their 6 words and no one person is dominating the conversation. So there we go.
Okay, super. We will be going out now shortly.